Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. 23-year-old Arsenal star linked with a shock move to Chelsea. Chelsea have suddenly been linked with a move to sign Arsenal star Emile Smith Rowe in the final week of this summer's transfer window. The Gunners' focus is on outgoings at the moment, but the last player Arsenal supporters want to see leave this week is a 23-year-old Smith Rowe, who is a fan favorite at the Emirates. Journalist Simon Phillips has shared the latest on his Substack. Arsenal star Emile Smith Rowe had a torrid time last season due to injuries. Now, in what is some worrying news, journalist Simon Phillips has claimed that Smith Rowe's name came up when he was inquiring about Chelsea's list of potential targets for the final week of the window. He wrote on his Substack, "Some names are still floating around, and I am hearing some things, just nothing entirely solid. But I do have some new names to report today, and a little bit more info on some things. I was told yesterday by a top source that the club are still trying to identify a suitable attacking player, and more names are coming up now. I put out last night in the Substack app chat that Emile Smith Rowe from Arsenal was one new name mentioned, so that might be one to keep an eye on. Nothing solid on him yet, and only mentioned from one source." Arsenal fans would absolutely hate it if Smith Rowe ends up joining Chelsea. It's hard for Gunners supporters to even imagine seeing the tremendous Englishman wearing blue at Stamford Bridge, but football is a funny game and anything can happen. If it does happen, Smith Rowe would be a phenomenal signing for Chelsea. He has all the characteristics to be a top player, and Mauricio Pochettino could make him a superstar. Arsenal, however, shouldn't consider any offer for Smith Rowe, let alone one from Chelsea. He is a fantastic player, and we feel they will definitely regret it if they sell him this summer. Fabrizio Romano says 27-year-old Arsenal man is now in talks about leaving the club. Arsenal are now in talks with defender Rob Holding about him leaving the club in the next few days. That's according to Fabrizio Romano, who shared more details about the 27-year-old's future. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta will be well aware that he needs to move several players on in the next few days. Their squad is currently too big to be registered for the Premier League, and having players hanging around unable to play would be a disaster. There are several senior players who haven't yet featured in a matchday squad in the league this season. One of those is Rob Holding, who appears to be surplus to requirements right now. He was an unused substitute against Manchester City in the Community Shield, but doesn't appear to be required anymore. Arsenal are now in talks with Holding about ending his time at the club. There appears to be interest in his services, but the Gunners are running out of time to get a deal done. Posting on social media, Romano said, "Rob Holding is still expected to leave Arsenal in the final days of the transfer window. There are discussions now ongoing to make it happen. Understand there are also Spanish clubs asking for conditions of Holding deal. Holding has been in talks with Arsenal about moving on for much of the summer. The signing of Jurriën Timber has pushed him further down the pecking order, with Jakub Kiwior leapfrogging him towards the end of last season. Holding has been a brilliant servant for the club, but isn't of the required standard for a team who are hoping to compete at the very highest level. The 27-year-old is advocate cover in a pinch, and Arsenal have already suffered their first defensive injury." Arsenal turns down Turkish club's proposal for key player. Arsenal has decided to retain Thomas Partey for the upcoming season and are willing to disregard any offers for the midfielder. Previously, there were expectations of the Ghanaian departing the club during the transfer window, with several teams expressing interest in adding him to their roster. Nonetheless, due to a lack of appealing offers during that period, the midfielder remained with Arsenal and was included in their plans for the new season. Under the leadership of Mikel Arteta, Arsenal is aiming to secure at least one trophy in the current term and recognizes the significance of retaining top tier talents to achieve this objective. Presently, the club is resolved to hold on to Partey even in the face of interest from Galatasaray, who are looking to acquire the Ghanaian player. According to a report from Sport Witness, Galatasaray has extended an offer to Arsenal, proposing a loan deal with an option for a subsequent permanent transfer. Nevertheless, Arsenal has rejected this offer, standing firm on their decision to retain Partey and not entertain the idea of selling him during this stage of transfer window. It's too late to consider selling an important player like Partey, and the midfielder has already shown this term that he can be a valuable player for us. We expect him to stay loyal, and we are lucky to have an important player like him in our group. Alan Pardew questions key aspect of Kai Havertz's contribution to Arsenal. For Mikel Arteta, it was a frustrating day against Fulham, and a number of issues with his Arsenal side will be causing him a headache at the moment, one of which is a new signing Kai Havertz. The German has had a rough start to life as an Arsenal player since signing from Chelsea, and speaking on Talksport, Alan Pardew has claimed Havertz lacks personality at the moment. He said, "He's looked at him and thought he isn't doing at Chelsea. We can take him and I can take him to the next level. But as we speak now, 3 games in, it hasn't happened. The thing that worries me about Havertz is his personality. I don't see his personality on the pitch. He's got technical ability, but I don't see him grab a game or a game where he is completely turned it. You could argue he's won the Champions League, so let's not say it's a bad signing, but right now it's a work in progress." Havertz has played both in midfield and further forward so far, but to little effect. He will be hoping to do much better in the next few games if selected. Arsenal signed Kai Havertz because he is, on paper, a ready-made Premier League player who knows the score already. Sadly, at the moment, he is looking like a flop signing based on just a few games. Arsenal paid more than £60 million for Havertz, but he is just not showing nearly enough right now. This has to change, and quickly. Havertz cannot simply mill about and not contribute. If he does, then Arsenal's title hopes will be gone before they even got going. Sutton questions Arsenal's decision to let Tierney leave. Chris Sutton has been baffled by Arsenal's decision to leave Kieran Tierney out of their matches this season as the left-back moved to Real Sociedad. Yurian Timber and Takahiro Tomiyasu were the left-backs in Arsenal's first game of the season, and Jakub Kiwior played in that role for their 2-2 draw against Fulham. Arsenal has made Tierney available for transfer, even though Zinchenko, their only other natural option for that role, was injured. It's a decision that baffles Sutton, and he wonders what the Scotsman could have done to continuously be left out. He said on the BBC, "Kiwior at left back, strange to be at left back. Kieran Tierney going to Sociedad on loan. What has he done wrong?" Tierney is one of the finest left backs in the Premier League, even as he does not play often for us. However, we trust Mikel Arteta to make the right decisions, even if sometimes we might not always agree with him. The Spaniard has been our manager for long enough for us to trust his judgment, and we expect him to justify this decision in the long run. Most of our current left-footed defenders could comfortably play in that role, which is a good situation. Pounded thinks £8 million player is actually much better than 2 Arsenal stars. Tony Cascarino has hit out at Mikel Arteta for letting Berlino leave Arsenal, insisting that he would have the Fulham goalkeeper ahead of Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya. Cascarino was speaking to the Times after the Gunners were held to a 2-2 draw by Marco Silva's side at the Emirates at the weekend. Cascarino believes that he would have neither play in his team ahead of Bernd Leno, who of course was down the other end of the pitch in the Fulham net. He said, "There was always going to be pressure on Aaron Ramsdale this season, with David Raya joining from Brentford to provide competition for the goals at Arsenal. Raya no doubt fancies his chances after Ramsdale was caught off his line for Fulham's opening goal. But the man I think should be Arsenal number one was in the other goal. Lino is calm, composed, and commanding. I have no idea why Mikel Arteta let him go. In fairness to Ramsdale, he spent a year as Lino's rival, and once he claimed the number one spot, there were few calls from the supporters for the German to come back in. Ramsdale has predominantly done an outstanding job at the Emirates. That was why the club's decision to target Raya was so shocking, and in truth, it's hard to be too critical of anything Ramsdale did for the opening Fulham goal. Lino has proved to be a very decent signing for Fulham at £8 million, and actually, he did very little wrong during his time at the Emirates. But Arsenal have definitely moved forward over the last couple of years, and Ramsdale has clearly played a massive part in that progress. Journalists suggest Arsenal are more and more likely to move for a £21 million defender now. Arsenal appear to be more and more likely to make a move for Galatasaray defender Victor Nelsson this summer. That's according to journalist Rudy Galati, speaking to Give Me Sport about the Danish international. The final week of the summer transfer window is finally upon us. Every side in the Premier League will be hoping they can make the final additions to their squad ahead of the campaign getting into full swing. Arsenal have recruited well this summer, with Declan Rice looking like a brilliant piece of business. There are still question marks over Kai Havertz after a difficult performance against Fulham, while a serious injury to Julian Timber is a huge blow. Arsenal may now move for Victor Nelson to provide further cover for the injured Dutchman. The 24-year-old has been linked with a move to England throughout the transfer window. Tottenham initially looked the keenest, but now he could be heading to the red side of North London. Speaking to Give Me Sport about Arsenal's potential business, Galati said, talking about the possible incoming moves after the injury of Julian Timber, Arsenal are looking for a new centre back. On their list are four different options. One of them is Victor Nelson. The Galatasaray defender has a release clause of €25 million, and he is claiming a position on Arsenal's shortlist, which has four different names. Victor Nelson made the switch to Galatasaray in 2021 and has been an important defender in their side ever since. He played 33 times last season as he helped the Turkish Giants win the Super League for the first time since 2019. Barcelona has a response to Arsenal's interest in their defender. Arsenal's pursuit of Barcelona defender Eric Garcia during the summer's transfer window has hit a roadblock as the Spanish club has reportedly deemed him unavailable for a transfer. Recently, Garcia emerged as a potential target for Arsenal, particularly as they aim to find a replacement for Julian Timber before the transfer window concludes. Garcia's profile as a player capable of filling the desired role has led Arsenal to express interest in acquiring his services. Numerous reports have indicated Arsenal's keenness to bring the Spanish defender to their squad. However, these efforts seem to have been thwarted by developments from Spain. According to reports via Sport Witness, Xavi Hernandez, the manager of Barcelona, has no intention of allowing Garcia to depart during this campaign. This assertion suggests that Garcia will not be available for transfer, effectively closing the door on Arsenal's pursuit. Garcia has Premier League experience, which makes him an ideal signing for us if we add him to our group. However, the defender is important to Barca, and their stance means we have to look elsewhere to find a player to bolster our squad. We have several other defenders in the group now, and we may be forced to trust them if we cannot find a new one to play in Timber's absence. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.